Very good afternoon. This is Manas Mishra from Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Central University, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, India. Let me begin with a very simple but unsettling question that are we still living our lives or our lives slowly being lived for us, very much designed, predicted, and guided by forces that we rarely understand? This question is not philosophical, it's deeply real. It sits quietly in our pockets, glows on our screens, shape our decisions, and increasingly define our existence. Today, I have been invited to deliver on a very profound transformation that how the dimension of human life are expanding, how technology is no longer a passive tool but a active architect, and how education must evolve if we are remain truly in the age of machines. For centuries human life was very beautifully limited. Our world was being bounded by geography, our knowledge by traditions, and our identities by community. There was a certain clarity in our limitations. You knew where you were, you knew who you were, and time moved at a pace that allowed reflection. But today, these boundaries have dissolved. We no longer inhabit a single dimension of existence. We live in a layered and multi dimensional reality. We are present physically in one place, digitally in another, emotionally somewhere else, and intellectually everywhere at one time. A student sitting in a quiet room can attend global lectures, influence thousands of people through a single post, or engage in debates that transcend borders. This is not merely convenience, this is a fundamental shift in what it means to exist. We have entered what can be called as a phygital world, where the physical as well as digital things are not separate realms, but they are intertwined realities. And in this world, our digital selves, our data, our identities, our footprints often speak louder and travel faster than our physical presence. Along with space, even our experience of time has changed. There was a time when patience was virtue, but because delay was inevitable. Today, delay feels like a failure because everything is instant. We live in the age of that can be said as a time compression, where communication, consumption, and decision making happen in seconds. But paradoxically, we also live in the age of temporal expansion. Our words, our ideas, our images, once ephemeral, are now stored, archived, and retrievable indefinitely. In a strange way, we are becoming digitally immortal. Our presence does not end when we leave a room or even when we leave the world. It lingers in servers, in data clouds, in algorithms that remember us longer than our memory ever could. So time is no longer just something we pass through. It is something we leave behind. Something that continues to carry fragments of who we were. And perhaps the most intimate transformation is happening within our minds. The very nature of thinking is evolving. There was a time when intelligence meant remembering. Today, intelligence means something. Today, it's beyond remembering. Intelligence means something knowing where to find. Our devices have become extension of our cognition. When we forget, we search. When we have some doubt, we verify instantly. When we wonder, we consult machines. This is what philosophers have described as an extended mind, a reality where the boundary between human thought and technological assistance become blurred. But this raises a subtle yet very powerful question that if our thinking depends on external systems, Where does the mind truly reside? Is it within us or is it disturbed across networks, servers, and algorithms? So, this brings me to a second dimension of our discussion, the intervention of technology. Technology was once created to serve us, it was a tool, neutral and obedient. But today it is no longer passive, it is active, adaptive, and in many ways authoritative. It does not just assist our choices, it shapes them. Every time when we open a social media platform, watch a video, or search something, information, we are not simply making choices, we are being guided by. Algorithms curate what we see, prioritize what we engage with, and subtly influence what we believe. Our time, uh, over time, this creates what we call echo chambers, where we are surrounded by ideas that reinforce our existence. It feels like freedom, but it can quietly become a form of intellectual confinement. More concerning is the fact that technology is no longer confined to the external world. It is beginning to enter the most sacred space of all, the human mind. Advances in neurotechnology and brain computer interfaces are opening new doors that were once considered as a science fiction. The possibility that thought can be read, influenced, and even predicted, it raises profound ethical questions. Do we truly own our thoughts? Can privacy exist when the mind itself become accessible? These are not distant concerns, they are emerging realities. The idea of cognitive liberty, the right to think freely without interference, may soon become one of the most important human rights of our time. At the same time, technology is shaping the very idea of work and purpose. For generations, identity was closely tied to profession. What you did define who you were. But today, machines are increasingly capable of performing both physical as well as intellectual tasks. From writing to analysis, from manufacturing to decision making, automation is expanding rapidly. This forces us to confront a deeply existential question that if machines can do everything we can do, what remains uniquely human? The answer cannot lie in competing with machines. It must lie in transcending them. Our value must shift from efficiency to meaning, from productivity to creativity, and output to essence. And this is where the education becomes the most critical force of all. If life is changing and technology is intervening, education must respond, not gradually but fundamentally. The traditional model of education designed for an industrial age emphasized memorization, repetition, and standardization. It prepared individuals for predictable roles in a stable system, but we no longer live in such a system. We live in a world of constant change, uncertainty, and complexity. And in such a world, knowing facts is not enough. What matters is the ability to think, to question, to adapt. So, education must move from teaching what to think to teaching how to think. It must cultivate critical minds that can navigate misinformation, question assumptions, and make a informed decision in an overwhelming sea of information. Moreover, the problem of our time do not belong to a single discipline. For example, climate change. It is not an environmental issue only. It is economic, political, and social. Same as with the artificial intelligence. It is not just technological, it is ethical and legal also. Therefore, education must break down its silos. A lawyer must understand technology, an engineer must understand society, and a policy maker must understand science. The future belongs not to the specialists, but those uh, but to the integrators who can connect knowledge across domains. Ironically, as we become more technologically advanced, the most valuable skills are becoming profoundly human. empathy, compassion, ethical judgment, creativity. These are not just soft skills anymore. They are essential skills. Machines can process data, but they cannot truly understand what human suffering is. They can generate content, but they cannot experience meaning. They can stimulate conversations, but they cannot replace genuine human connection. So education must therefore focus not only to the intellectual development but also on the emotional and ethical growth. Another crucial transformation is that education is no longer a phase of life; it's becoming a lifelong process. The idea that we study for few years, work for decades, and then retire is fading. In a rapidly changing world, skills become obsolete quickly. We must continuously learn, unlearn, and relearn the things. So, education must evolve into a lifelong ecosystem where individuals remain learners throughout their lives and constantly adapting to new realities. However, this transformation is not just about challenges. One of the greatest concern is inequality. As technology expands, the dimension of life for some is excluded. Those without access to digital tools or quality education are left behind in what can called as a flat world, while others move ahead in a multidimensional reality. So this creates a new form of inequality, the digital divide, which is not just economic but also intellectual as well as social. There is also a risk of losing our agency when algorithms predict our preferences and influence our decisions. We may begin to rely on them blindly. That danger is not that machine will become smarter than us, but that we may become less thoughtful. So education must therefore empower individuals to remain conscious, critical, and independent. We must learn not only how to use the technology, but also how to question it, how to resist it, and when necessary, and remain in control of our own choices. Finally, as our lives move into digital spaces and technology enters in our minds, our legal and ethical framework must evolve. Concepts like privacy, autonomy, and freedom must redefine for new age. The idea of protecting not just our bodies but our thoughts, our data, our identities will become central to the future of law and governance. So here I would like to conclude with saying that we stand at a remarkable crossroads in a human history. The dimension of life are expanding beyond anything we have known. Technology is reshaping reality in ways both empowering and unsettling. The education holds the key to navigating this transformation. The question before us is not whether change will happen, it's already done. The real question is whether we will guide this change with wisdom or we will be carried by without any direction. So we must strive for a new kind of mechanism, one that embraces technology but does not surrender to it, one that values innovation but remains rooted in ethics, one that expands the boundaries of life while preserving the essence of humanity. So education must become the bridge between the power and purpose, between knowledge and wisdom, between what we can do and what we should. Because in the end, the goal is not just to create a world where machines become more human, but to ensure that human do not become machines. Thank you.